All right, folks. Welcome to the Who Buddy Father's Day edition, which I can think of a better way to spend it than with my daddy. So we are out here doing a little picking, getting ready to ship. So he's going to pick out the inventory. We're going to ship some stuff. Probably won't show you that stuff, but just want to show you guys a little bit more about the business than what I've been showing. I know this week's been a lot of fun, crazy videos and all that stuff, but this week was a lot of more business too, because we also resell auto parts and that we get from a guy locally. So I'll go through and tell you guys a little bit about that, because from January to June is usually our slow time of the year, and then we start picking up. So it's going to be crazy from July to December, which is our big selling part of the year. So it's going to be a lot of stuff. So we've sold a lot of the inventory. We're going to do a pickup today, and I'm going to pick up some stuff, take it down to Florida. I'm going to show you a little bit about the type of auto parts that we actually hold here. And then the other ones are held over in another shop. And the stuff that he's going, like he goes and he picks up stuff at Holly, he brings it back, he stores it in his warehouse, and then we pull from there. Most of this stuff you see is all from Holly. We do Holly restock parts, things like that they don't sell in the store, ship it back to Holly, and then he picks it up. We work with a guy named Mark and Keith, and they go pull it, and then they do a lot of selling at swap meets. So which swap meets did you say they go to?
They go to the big swap meet in Nashville. They go to the Hot Rod Reunion in Bowling Green. They go to the Tri-5 Reunion in Bowling Green, and a few other of the events they have at Bowling Green and local area drag strips and swap meets and stuff.
Okay, yep. And then we take a lot of the other stuff that they don't sell at the swap meets and then put it online, try to sell it for them. So it is a great deal, great setup. It was really kind of weird on how I even got involved with this. So I've been reselling for probably a couple of years now. Started out doing mainly like clothes, then got into tools. Came home one Christmas, and Dad was just asking me, how's the selling going? And I said, fine, but I was wanting to try to get into pallets at that time, right? And he's like, well, I go and hang out and buy some stuff for this guy, Mark and Keith. And I'm not going to go into their last names because I don't know if they want to be involved with anything online. Maybe if they do at some point, I'll do a little video with those guys, because they're another couple of hustlers that are really amazing on what those guys do as well. But anyway, I was just home for Christmas, and Dad said, let's go talk to him. And I'm just like, unless I've got a speech prepared, like I don't like do spur of the moment stuff like that. But he kind of pushed me a little bit when we went over there, and like they were just like phenomenal, like people to work with, extremely friendly. Kind of went through, and like that day we left with parts that we were going to sell. We stayed up till midnight that night listing stuff online to start selling it, because I had to leave the next day. So, like reselling is not easy, right? Like this was my week this week, and I'm on vacation. I got up at 5:30. I work my real job up till probably about 10 or 10:30. These guys get up, we go run to some sale or go pay somebody for something that we'd sold for them, or do whatever, and then do that, and then do a couple hours of fun stuff, which I'd actually make a video on. Then I'm back online doing some more work for my real job. And it's just like that all week. But the weird thing about it is like that's what I like to do. It's just like what I do. So I don't know if it's from this guy back here or it's from my mom, but that's just, they got it bred into us that this is what we do, and we just love it. We love hustling, and it's always been fun. This guy was at every single football game that I ever had. So when I was in like a freshman, I played 3 games a week. He'd work all day, and he was in the bleachers that night watching me play, and it didn't matter if it was an hour away, 2 hours away, 30 minutes away. So this guy right here was always there for me at any sporting event, anything I ever did. He was always there. Hopefully I'm not embarrassing him too much, but I wouldn't be where I'm at. And when I meet people now, this was like a big thing for me, is when I meet people, like I'm like, if he's with me, I'm afraid like they're like what are they gonna say? Hopefully they say I'm a good person, because like his opinion means the world to me, and I love him, and I wouldn't be where I'm at without him. So I can't express enough. So on this Father's Day, Dad, thank you. And so we're going to show you a little bit about what we sell. I'm sure he's going to mention his car over here that he's been working on for like a year now. couple of years?
Almost 2 years.
2 years now. And then he's got his LS almost ready to roll into it. And then he's got one in the back there that I'm going to try to, hey, what about putting that in the truck? But I think he's got other plans for either the drag car or doing a little swapping. He does swapping all the time. I sell stuff, but he's the swapper. So my mom's the negotiator. He's the swapper. And I don't know where I am. I'm just a guy trying to sell something, make $1. So anyway, we're going to go through, show you guys a little bit what we do. There's also a guy cutting hay in the back, and like I'm a mechanical engineer and just a nut about that kind of stuff. So I'm going to go talk to him about his equipment. And then Logan Davis, my buddy from college, is going to come in. We're going to go out to his farm. Probably won't show much of that because we're just going to go through his attic, pick out some of the stuff that he's got there, and go through that because like every day making a little money. So, and there's always hustling. I know there's a ton of like negative stuff like out online right now. But if you get bombarded with that stuff, go find somebody hustling. Like Keith and Mark and those guys, they are always hustling. Like Logan's always hustling. My dad's always hustling. The guy out there cutting hay, he's always hustling. Like he's cutting hay. He raises horses. Did you say he's playing his way through school doing that? Or
His way through college, he's worked up to a registered nurse.
Yeah.
I think he's either going for physician's assistant eventually.
Yeah.
But he'll take a year off and get caught up and then go back to school.
Yeah. So if you get bombarded with negative stuff, go find somebody that's hustling. Like these people will make you proud. It'll make you inspired. And then you'll realize that everything else is just a bunch of crap because there's actually a lot of people out there working really hard to do positive things. So anyway, let's show you a little bit about our inventory. All right, so let me show you a little bit about the kind of parts and stuff we get. Like we get anything from like intakes for small block Chevrolets, do a little bit of LS parts, but most of that stuff goes to the swap meet. Carburetors, shifters, air cleaners, you kind of name it. Any of the brands that Holly sells, like we get a lot of the restock stuff. So that's anywhere from Mr. Gasket to Lakewood, BMM shifters, Excel. We're doing some other plugs, but we kind of phased out of those. Anything on the Excel side, from like ceramic tips to the regular tips as well. The Flowtech headers, which I don't know if you guys can see that or not, we sell those as well. Wiring harnesses for, was this a Commander? The Coyote systems. So a little bit of everything that you can think of. I've got like if you know anybody needing a flywheel, I'm your dude because I got about a half dozen to a dozen of those. Bearings, throwout bearings, journal bearings, distributors. So a little bit of everything. So it's just, it's kind of a hodgepodge, but able to match up some people with some really good deals that we try to put on there for the pricing and stuff. Sell most of this stuff through our eBay stores, which if you look on the page, there will be a link to 2 of them. We got 2 WhoBuddy, and then WhoBuddy Direct, which we sell a lot of parts on, a lot of tools. But so this is kind of our stuff. We've kind of dwindled down to this. Usually we have them in both buildings. Now we're down to this because just with COVID and everything, inventory's been kind of sparse. We're going to kind of pick that up as he's going. So, and it works out pretty good. So another thing I want to kind of tell, Keith and Mark is like my goal was always to do some sort of business. Parts sold, cool. My goal was always to do some sort of business with my dad, and like when moving to Florida, I was like, I don't know if that's going to be able to be possible or not, but through eBay and through this connection, we talk to each other pretty much every day now, so which is extremely cool, and it's fun to do, and it's something that we both have a passion for, which is cars and rebuilding stuff. And another story too, just real quick. I know I'm probably like everybody's like, all right, get to the meat here. But like me and my dad growing up, like occasionally we'd butt heads, and hopefully I'm in the camera here. We're both in the camera here, but we would butt heads and things like that. But the one thing that we always had in common is if there was something that needed to be built, worked on, or just we would go out there and probably had the best conversations that we ever had, which a lot of times were hours and hours of just not even probably even talking, just sitting there working together and getting something done. So if you're ever butting heads with your kids, go find something you both like to do and just go do it. Don't even talk. Don't even worry about it. Don't worry about all the politics and all the other BS stuff. Just go spend time with them and do stuff, because that was probably some of the best times I've ever had with my father, is just, taking something apart, putting it back together. And that's probably why I do a lot of the stuff that I do in my garage now. So Anyway, you guys have a great Father's Day, and we'll take you on a little tour through what they're doing on the hay, and then probably show you what I'm picking up from Mark and them a little bit later, and that'll close this one out today, because the rest of the day we're just going to spend doing family stuff. So talk to you guys later. Thanks. All right, we're back from the pickup. Let's show you a little bit about what we picked up over at Mark and Keith's. All right, let's see a little bit about what we got here. So you want to go through the first box there? Got hooker.
Their exhaust, cutouts, electronic. You can open up your exhaust. When the cops pull up next to you, hit the button and shut them off and go, "What loud pipe, sir?" You got battery distributors, complete distributors. We've got we have stuff for drag racing too. That's a shift light, go with your tag.
Throttle bodies.
Throttle bodies. We have
Billet air
old
cleaners.
school billet for you Tri-5 guys and stuff like that. Most of this stuff's universal and will fit, you know, Ford, Chevrolet, etc. We just started getting these. They're all new in a box. Most of them's never been opened, but they are frostback aluminum radiators. We do have some, but not. We'll be getting more. We got the fans this time. The next time we're gonna get the radiator shrouds with the fans, which is good. We got them. We got a lot of them for LS conversions. This time we got some old school poly valve covers, billet stuff. Then we got some of these. We did get some stuff for LS and Vortec engines.
Yeah, so a lot of this stuff's going back with me to Florida. I'll have it on either Facebook Marketplace locally in the Space Coast area, or I will have it on the eBay store. So check it out. Just so you guys can see what it's like picking. We are in the roof of a barn right now. It is, what, about 90 degrees up here. And we are going through stuff looking for racing items. So finding a few wheels up here, things like that. There's a lot of like antique furniture, things like that we're going through. But it's not as glorious as what they make it look like on TV. I'll tell you that right now. So we got one barn to go through, and then we're going to go through another one, and then hopefully that's the end of the day, because it is getting hot and I'm sweating. Here we are on the other end. A little bit of antique headboard over there, some muffler components. Got old Logan Davis over there. For some reason, I'm up here sweating my ass off, and he's down there managing.
No one's gonna be.
He is outsmarted me. Once again, folks, Logan Davis has outsmarted me. Anyway, we've reached the end. All right, so picked up some welding items, or actually just all torches and things like that. I'm gonna pick up and take back and do a little selling on. So, little grinding wheels going on there. It's not a bad little score. All right, folks. We are going to conclude the day out here on the farm with a little four-wheeler riding. The guys got all the hay all cut today, all baled up, all good to go. Looking like a good field here. It's going to be some good riding in here. So it's going to be fun. So I'm going to take the old Yamaha out and let's try it out. I was given 2 rules by my father. 1, keep it out of the pond, son. 2, don't fly up and hurt myself. So I just realized I cannot do a very good video. This was a terrible spot to do a video. So good, bad, good, bad, or anyway, I'm gonna do a little riding here, have some fun. Not gonna video anything. I'm just gonna have some fun tonight, hang out with the family. Tomorrow I'll do the final round of picking, and then I'm gonna head on back to Florida because I miss my girls, I miss my family. So my wife is awesome. Thank you for letting me come up here, hang out, and but I'll be home soon to see you guys, and I miss you. So thank you guys for watching, and you guys have a great weekend. All right, we're going. My dad's getting his field. I always get confused and call it Bell or Hell and Bay, but it is Bell and Hay.
Yeah.
So they're going. I'm gonna have him walk me through kind of his equipment and show me what they do here.
Sure. So we have a New Holland round baler over here attached to a Ford 9600. It will round bale up to a 5x6 round bale. It's set right now on 4x6s.
It's just adjustment on the equipment that
Yeah,
you get different sizes.
so on the side there's some adjustments in there, and you can adjust how many strings it wraps around it. You can adjust the size of your bale, some of your tension stuff too, how tight your bale is. And then I have a square baler, a New Holland. It's a 276, and it'll square bale your standard size square bales, small square bales, not like the out west where they do really big square bales.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're going to try to put down a bunch of square today and maybe a little bit of round in another field.
What do you feed with it? Just horses?
Mostly horses, yeah. I feed some of ours. We have some boarders that board at our facility. I have a place out in Kevel, outside of Kevel that they stay. So most of that all goes to horses. Occasionally I have people buy for cattle here and there, but
yeah. How many horses you got?
There's actually 3 different locations that have horses. There's about 38 or so.
38. Man, that's a lot of horses. Yeah. How many acres?
There's 90 acres out in Kevel. Some of that's in crop, so not all of it's in pasture and boarding. There's about 10 acres at my in-laws, and I got about 36 acres over at my parents' place where there's some horses too. There's about 9 horses over there.
Cool. So you cut it with what?
So the equipment that I cut it with is not here.
Oh, okay, so
I
you
run
gotta
this big tractor on it, but
yeah.
It's called a disc bind, and essentially it's a disc cutter. It's about 9 feet wide.
Yeah.
It has its own wheels and everything. It carries itself. It pulls behind this tractor, and then behind the disc cutter is a set of rollers that are kind of interlaced. They have almost like tread, like a tire.
Yep.
And those treads kind of, what they do is as the hay goes through it, it crimps that hay, breaks the stems off a little bit. And when you break the stems and you crunch the hay a little bit, it helps with drying.
Yep.
So it cures your hay a little bit faster. You don't have to handle it quite as much, especially in really thick hay. You don't have to tedder it quite as much.
Cool.
And a tedder, he's got it right over here.
Yeah. So
What that does is you just connect it back to the back of the tractor, run it off the PTO. It's
Yeah.
folded up right now, it spreads out. And all these little tines turn real fast, and they turn kind of at an angle. You adjust it with that handle there.
Yeah.
Picks up the hay, throws it out behind you, and kind of fluffs the hay. And it'll also take those crimps, and it kind of breaks them a little bit further if they didn't get totally broken.
Cool.
And it helps the drying process
So
even
that was
further.
a little different style of this, or
So that is actually a rake.
that's
So
a rake. Okay.
The idea behind that is that it takes that hay off the ground and puts it into rows so I can pick
Yeah.
it up with the balers.
Okay. Got
So-
a little tornado.
We got a
action
little
going on
hay
there.
tornado out here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's cool. I don't know if I can. Hold on a second. Get this thing. Yeah, it's gone.
Starting to die a little bit.
Yeah. Cool. So I love the tractors.
Yeah. So I've got this 9600 kind of apart right now because I'm still working on little leaks and things that are on it. These are
Yeah.
70s models. This one's like a 74 model Ford. This is one of the biggest Ford tractors that they ever made back in the day. It's about 130 horse. It has a little small turbo on it.
Yeah.
It's a real beast of a tractor.
So just same technology as other, like a diesel engine, right?
Yeah, diesel engine.
So you got turbo coming out of the exhaust side.
Yeah. So you got your turbo going out there and back into your breather. They're pretty simple old machines, but they're, I'd rather run one of these sometimes than some of the newer stuff just because they're
Simple.
easy, simple to work on. Something breaks, you're not down quite as long as you have to wait for service or something. You can usually fix it right away.
They got a thing down there called the Florida Flywheelers that they have, and essentially it was like an old flywheel show, but they do a lot of tractors and stuff
Sure.
like that down there, and a lot of the old. But like these guys drive like some of these old school tractors that they
30s, 40s, and
Yeah.
50s tractors, that have the flywheels on the side of them. And my uncle used to pull some of the John Deeres. They would do pulling competitions, and they have like a big flywheel on the side. And that's how you would start them.
Yeah.
You just turn them over until you get them to fire up, and then they run off the belts and stuff. Yeah.
It's still pretty easy to get tractor parts and all that stuff. And
Right now, it's getting more difficult for these old tractors, especially these bigger ones that were they were a little bit more limited in their production because only the big farmers back then had them. They were more expensive and they were really only useful to the guys that were doing big farming. But tractors have come so far now where you can get 100, 130 horse tractor and people use them. They're made in a smaller tractor and people use them around little farms. I can kind of walk you through this round blade a little bit too.
Yeah.
So down here is the pickup.
yeah,
And this knob right here will actually control the pickup. I can let it down so it's up for travel, go down the road and stuff. And I roll that down, and those little fingers down there will scoop up the hay. They feed it back into the baler, and then you can see there's rubber belts in here. And there's gears and things in there that run it, and it'll turn all those belts. What it does is it takes that hay in there and wraps it up really tight in the core, and then it just keeps feeding it on top of it until it rolls it into a big roll.
So you just set the height based off of probably the hills or whatever you're going to be.
Well, you don't even
terrain,
actually have to set the height on this. You just let it all the way down and it will ride. It has a wheel on the other side and it will ride along the ground, and it kind of controls its own height.
Okay, so you just reel it up all the way.
Yeah, just reel it all the way up to go down the road.
So this flings it up, and then it's kind of a friction-based system once it gets up to that point.
Yeah, it just gets in there, and it's got some rollers in that belt, and it just tightens it up really tight till it forms a core, and then it just starts adding hay to it as it goes. You kind of gotta, there's some skill to how you do your windrows.
Yeah.
With a round baler like this, it's not modern. It doesn't have a monitor that tells you like where you're filling up one side or the other. You either have to, if your windrows are narrow, you have to kind of adjust and go from side to side so you're feeding it evenly. Or what I like to run is a big V-ray.
So you're kind of like, as far as how it's hitting the feed down there in the bottom, you're going back and forth like you're winding a cord or something like that.
Exactly. With windrows about this width, that's how you would have to do it. Now I have another rake that's a V rake. It's two rakes on either side, and it makes one windrow all at one pass. And it's actually set and designed more for this baler, and what it will do is it makes my windrows wide enough that they're the perfect width for the pickup, so I don't have to wind back and forth as much. I can stay pretty much straight.
Yep.
And it picks it up nice and even. So there's little tricks and techniques to all this stuff that you learn over the years. But
So how do you know you're full or whatever?
so it does have, to a certain degree, a monitor. It's a manual trigger that sends an electrical signal up through a cord here to a little monitor that's setting on the tractor over there. And it will buzz.
So the red light up there on top.
Exactly. So that light's supposed to come on and it buzzes, and you can actually see where this little, I'll show you up top. Where this little dial right here is, as it's feeding the baler and the baler's getting bigger, it'll go up here. And when you get to the top, you kind of know, depending on where I've got it set, I kind of know where it's about to be full. And then that thing will buzz. And what it's doing is it's tripping a little lever over here on the side of the baler where I adjust the size. When that happens, it auto wraps the twine around it.
Okay.
And the twine, I'll show you.
So it's like a limit switch or something in there?
It's what?
It's like a limit switch or something you hit? Or?
Basically, yeah. And then your bales of twine are actually in here, and they feed and they go through these little loops and they go down. And when it triggers that, the arms swing out that are holding the twine under there, and it feeds that twine in there, and actually just through friction grabs onto the bale, and then it wraps the bale. And those arms feed it all the way across the bale and then come back, and then it feeds that string through two knives on either side that clamp down and they cut the string off. And then all you have to do is lift a hydraulic lever, and the whole back gate of this baler will lift up and the bale falls out. It has a little spring plateau on the back that shoots the bale out away from the baler, so you can close the back gate and then you just go on again.
So how does it like fix the end or whatever? It wraps it around it so many times that you
it's pretty tight. The string pretty much just sticks to it on the end when it's done. You will see with these old string balers sometimes if it doesn't
Shit. Sorry, I lost a little bit of that on the end there because somebody called, but we're going to go through the square baler now.
All right, so it's a New Holland Hayliner 276. I believe it's about in the 80s models. I'm not for sure on that. Essentially, same idea. It starts up at the front. You have a feed on the right-hand side. It's actually folded in for travel right now. But you pull a string that pulls a lever and has a brake on this wheel over here. And that outside wheel will brake, and then this will slide out and it can click into either one of those holes depending on how wide you need the baler to pop out to the side of your tractor. You also then there's a manual lever on the other side, and you drop your feed down. It rides along a wheel just like the rail baler and just picks up the hay, and it feeds it back there, and there's actually an arm with some fingers on it that swing back and forth, and they grab the hay and throw it into the bale chamber, which is on this side. And then this is where your PTO goes in here. You have this big flywheel, turns your gears, and it turns a bunch of chains that turn all the mechanisms. Your bale chamber is here, and there's actually a big plunger that's up in the front part, and what that does is acts like two things. It has a knife on the inside, so it cuts the hay off that's being fed in, and two, it plunges the hay and packs it into the bale chamber and makes the bale size. And then you have knotters here. This is what ties the string on your bales. So there's one right here that's already tied, and I'm just at the beginning of a new bale. And so you have needles down here that will come up, and they thread the string into the bale chamber. And what will happen, this wheel also plays a role in it. It tells you how long, by adjusting here, it tells the baler how long to make the bales. These are your tensioners here, so you can squeeze down on the hay, and that makes your bales tighter. It makes you pack more into them. The strings will get a little tighter, you get heavier bales. And what happens is you're feeding hay in here. Initially, like where this one is begun, hay will pack on the back side of that string that's going through here, and it will come out this way until it reaches a determined length. And then it will trip this right here it goes into one of these cogs. When it locks that up, it turns all these mechanisms, and the very first thing before it turns them all is that it will trip this needle to swing up, and it cuts the other part of the string in front of the baler.
Yeah.
Or in front of the baler. Feeds it into here. These knotters all turn. They wrap the knot, comes back down, and there's a knife. There's 2 knives on either side that cuts off the top of the string.
Yeah.
And you've got the new string started for the next bale already, and it just keeps on going.
Like, do you stop at any point in this, or is this just a continuous kind of flow?
It's better to be continuous. A
Yeah.
lot of stopping and going is actually harder on these balers because they're really set up to be in constant feed. Constant feed really helps to keep all the mechanisms timed just right. I mean, everything's timed by chains and cogs and things, but you know, if you've got different ground speeds, different thickness of hay, it can change the characteristics of how it bales. And sometimes, you know, it will miss a string, or it won't get it tied just right, and then they can pop on you, and then you just go back and you try to rebale one.
Yeah.
But that's pretty rare, and of course, it's old technology, but there are still balers being made to this day that use almost the exact same knotting systems. They're just newer balers.
Yeah, it's very cool.
There are inline designs that they now make too, that so instead of your feed being off to the side, your feed's actually up in front. Massey Ferguson makes some of those. I would love to get a hold of one of those one of these days. The advantage to the inline is that going down the road's a lot easier because it's not cocked out to the side. It's right behind your tractor. 2, when you're running over your field, it's easier to maneuver because you're riding right over the top of your hay instead of having to be inside of one and throw the baler out.
Yep.
And they say that they make nicer quality bales. One of the things you see with these side bales is because you're feeding the hay in from the side into the bale chamber. If everything's just not perfect, you can get what we call banana bales, and it's just essentially one side's not getting fed quite as much hay, and it doesn't tie it quite as tight or something, and you get a little bit of a bend to your bale. If everything's set for the most part right, even a little bit of bend is very adjustable. Simply when you pick it up, you're just going to kind of push the hay into it square.
Yeah.
But they say that the inline bales do an amazing job at producing just really good, straight, packed bales.
Very cool.
Yep.
It's a nice setup. You do all the repairs and stuff yourself, or?
Pretty much.
Pretty
I mean,
much.
if it gets to really complicated things with timing and stuff, I've messed with that before, but it could really quickly get into a situation where I would need service to come out and help me with it. But for the most part, I have been able to learn enough about these to fix most everything myself.
Very cool.
They said when they designed these originally that you're supposed to be able to fix just about everything on them in the field with a screwdriver and a wrench and a hammer.
Okay. Because that's about all you'll probably have out there. So.
Yeah.
Cool. So these are 50-pound, or what's the?
Yeah, these you can vary the weight, and the weight can vary depending on the material you're putting in it too, depending on the types of hay you're packing in there. But for the most part, mine are about 50 pounds. But they can vary anywhere from 40, 45 up to 55, 60. It just depends, like I said, the type of grass, the moisture content, lots of that stuff can come into factor.
And then what do those roughly weigh?
Those are probably about 1,200 pounds.
Holy shit, that's a lot of weight.
One of those round bales, the way I have it set right now, will hold about 20 of the regular squares.
Cool.
Yeah.
Excellent. Well, if you get any heavy ones, make sure you have him load those. So cool. Well, thank you very much for your time.
Yeah.
So, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Cool.
It's pretty